This is an ostrich. It weighs around 300 pounds, and because of that massive weight, it is entirely confined to the ground. Modern biology establishes a firm rule: heavy birds simply cannot fly. But exactly 66 million years ago, an animal the size of a giraffe, weighing as much as a full-grown grizzly bear, regularly took to the skies. We know this because of a 1971 discovery in the vast rocky terrain of Texas's Big Bend National Park. Geologists excavating the area unearthed a fossilized wrist bone that looked exactly like a bat's wing joint, except it was the size of a frisbee. When researchers brought these fragments back to the University of Texas at Austin, their computer reconstructions revealed a wingspan wide enough to completely hide a school bus. They named it Quetzalcoatlus Northropi. This single fossil transformed our understanding of prehistoric life into a massive biomechanical engineering puzzle. The math simply didn't add up. According to standard aerodynamics, a body this heavy shouldn't generate enough lift to leave the ground. The scientific community spent the next decade stuck on this problem. In 1984, an aviation engineer named Paul McCready decided to test if this creature could physically glide. McCready started by analyzing basic flight mechanics. This diagram shows a side-by-side comparison of a modern airplane and a modern bird. Notice how both structures rely heavily on a pronounced tail section. That tail acts as a balancing rudder, providing essential directional stability in the air. But as we apply that to the Quetzalcoatlus structure, you can see a glaring omission. It has almost no tail at all. When McCready built remote-controlled models to test this specific shape, the lack of a rear rudder caused the massive body to immediately spin out of control. The animal compensated with a bizarre physical workaround. Instead of steering from the rear, it used its incredibly long head and neck as a forward-facing rudder. By pivoting its giant skull side to side mid-flight, it successfully locked its trajectory into a stable, straight line. McCready proved the shape could theoretically glide, but his team immediately hit a much larger mechanical wall. This massive creature shouldn't have been able to get off the ground in the first place. The problem was the testing method. McCready got his model airborne by launching it off a wheeled cart. Paleontologists quickly pointed out that a real biological animal doesn't have the luxury of a mechanical runway catapult. Look at this skeletal wireframe. The Quetzalcoatlus had tiny hind legs and massive wings. If it tried to build running speed like a modern albatross, its dragging wingtips would physically collide with the ground. It would simply faceplant. Since it couldn't run, scientists realized the creature must have completely abandoned leg-powered takeoffs. It relied on a highly specialized launch sequence instead. They call it the quad launch. Using a pole vaulting mechanic, the animal would rock its weight backward, violently push off its extremely muscular, folded front wings, and catapult its heavy body vertically, snapping its wings open only after it cleared the ground. Overcoming these immense physical hurdles paid off. The ability to vault a bear-sized body into the air allowed them to monopolize a sky entirely devoid of competitors, gathering food easily and becoming undisputed apex predators. But it also left the Quetzalcoatlus deeply fragile. It had evolved extreme, highly impractical physical workarounds just to achieve flight, making it an over-specialized biological marvel that was completely dependent on those exact mechanics. That extreme specialization became a fatal flaw. When the Chicxulub asteroid hit, the impact filled the atmosphere with toxic gas and drastically heated the planet. While small, ground-dwelling dinosaurs survived the impact to eventually become modern birds, the massive creatures capable of flying thousands of miles away from the blast zone perished completely. The answer lies in how animals survive sudden, extreme heat and toxic air. The only immediate defense is to take shelter, diving underwater or squeezing deep into narrow rock crevices. A Quetzalcoatlus couldn't do either. Its massive scale and highly specialized flying anatomy made it physically impossible to hide. You can't fold a giraffe-sized frame into a small cave, and a body built strictly for the air is entirely unsuited for swimming. The asteroid acted as a brutal size filter. It wiped out the over-specialized giants while rewarding smallness and the ability to adapt. Which brings us to a final question. If this quad-launching, giant-winged structure was such a biological triumph, why didn't the surviving species re-evolve this exact design after the dust settled? Think of it through engineering trial and error. A World War II fighter plane was a masterpiece for its era, dominant and perfectly capable. But as we learned more about aerodynamics, we didn't keep building planes with those same bulky footprints. Today's avian species are the result of that same iterative process. They didn't just rebuild giant designs of the past. They moved toward a more streamlined aerodynamic path that didn't require extreme mechanical workarounds. Evolution moved away from the cumbersome physics required to launch a bear-sized body into the sky. It favored the sleek efficiency of the modern bird, leaving these magnificent, impossible giants permanently grounded in the fossil record.